Hi everybody, Justin Weber, Amps and Sound. I was speaking for about 20 minutes and realized that I ran out of space on my iPad, so this is take number two. I was talking about the Falcons. Uh, why do I love the four speakers behind me? So, first of all, the Falcons, I had a set in rosewood, gold badge, but I have a thing for black, and so I sold my gold badged versions and I bought the black, silver badged versions. And I, of course, took off the Falcon logo. We have the solid steel stands. So before, when I had my Falcons, I had the rosewood with the solid steel stands just like these, but they were in black. And when I found out solid steel had them in like untreated metal with bronze, with the bronze welding, I bought this version instead, and I bought the silver badge. So the whole reason behind the LS35A is it's touching. It's a reference point that still holds true today. It's a micro monitor. So in this room, it's super tiny. It's probably the best speaker I could have in this room. Even though I want huge mammoth speakers that do wonderful things, the micro monitor and this being one of the most truthful sound reproducing devices that exist, it's why it stays. It'll never ever be sold. Um, Amongst my equipment, though, speaker wise, my Altec 612. So I have a set of Altec 604s in Altec 612 style cabinets in my office with my own crossovers. Those will never get sold. These LS35As will never get sold. And these, my what I call mini corn scalas. The idea behind the mini corn scala is that it's the smallest cabinet I could make with the biggest horn I could find. So what we have here is essentially a Klipsch Heresy style cabinet. You have a 12-inch woofer, very similar to what Klipsch uses in their pro lines of the Heresies. So it's 95, 96 dB efficient, mated to this elliptical Tractrix horn from Fatale. We then dynamat the horn so it's super inert, non-resonant. We pair it with the Radian 648 Neo driver, so it's a neodymium driver. The crossover in here is adjustable, but we're crossing at 500 hertz, so we're getting out of the woofer as quick as we can. The horn's properly loading at 500 hertz, and it's a second order crossover of our own design. Works beautifully. We went with the slant riser just like Klipsch does, and strangely enough, these are in rosewood, and I'm really pretty pleased with these. They have beautiful gray grills, like a gray heather. If you guys send me a DM, I can give you the fabric company I use. Um, but anyway, this is a lifetime ownership speaker for me, as is the LS35A, as is the Altec 612 in my office. Now, behind me, I have two other great options that I listen to frequently and love for different reasons. We have my Altec 604s, which are Altec 604Hs from Great Plains Audio. They came with crossovers that were just unusable to us. They were kind of a combination of a Yuri and an older Altec design. Did some phase adjustment and was unlistenable to me. I have worked a lot of years with Al Klappenberger of ALK Engineering. I sent him the driver. We came up with a fourth order Litz Riley network with a Zobel component. And it's really, really, really an amazing speaker with the right crossover. So we're crossing over at 1500 hertz with fourth order crossover, so you have really good phase coherence. It's essentially time aligned passively, and it's just a fantastically good sounding speaker. It looks sort of like a cross between a Tennoy utility cabinet and Eclipse Cornwall. It's a little narrower than Eclipse Cornwall, and a little deeper, so it looks a little more Tennoy-esque. The baffle is an inch and a half thick, and we've recessed it. The grill is 2 inches thick, so when you put the grill on your It's not contacting the horn, which is a good thing. And it makes the front baffle even more inert when you have the front grill that's 2 inches thick of MDF. We've ported it. It's an honest 44 hertz speaker in room. Um, it's fully adjustable with the crossover with an auto former. We always use quarter 20 hardware. I don't believe in screws, so we bolt it down, and McMaster. I think we almost spent $200 in hardware for both speakers, which is insane. It's a lot of hardware, but these are all black oxide quarter 20 hardware, and for us, it's the right choice. Things I'm thinking about doing, so we're going to dynamat the inside of the cabinet a little bit to reduce the last bit of vibration, and then we're going to put in some acoustic treatments inside the cabinet as well. I'm thinking about 3D printing a horn insert to make it a multi-cell, more like an Altec 604E. We've already scanned it, just deciding whether we're going to do a production run or just do 4 units for me. Front baffle is black lacquer. Edge banding is black lacquer, so you don't see any of the seams. There's enough neodymium magnets here to shake a stick. Even though the front even though the front grill's like 50 pounds, it'll never move. It's really, really stuck there because of all the magnet force that we've used surrounding the edges of the cabinet. The front baffle's dadoed into the sides of the cabinet, which is always a good choice. We always have corner braces that are integrated deflectors into our corners. So we cut, if you take like a 1.5 by 1.5 piece of square wood, and you cut it at a 45 and then you glue it into the corners, it creates an automatic 45-degree deflector on all 4 corners. And you take your back furring strips, and our furring strips are 1.5 inches thick. So our back furring strips, which are dadoed into place, and our front baffle, the 45-degree deflectors that we include, tension between both the front baffle and the rear furring strips. So the cabinet is always sort of pushing out gently against itself as a way of stressing the cabinet, bringing the breakup node higher in the resonance spectrum so that you don't hear it. So the bass with the 604 that we have here is really proportionate. It's accurate. It is not boomy. It's also not a gravedigger. It doesn't go super, super low. It's like mid-40s. But it sounds like it should. It sounds right. It's really coherent. And it sounds like a really big studio monitor, which is what I wanted. What we have here is a 3-way corn scala that looks like a clipped Forte. The reason why we did this is where the Forte uses a passive radiator, which I'm not such a fan of. This is a typical ported design. It gets into the low 30s, so it is a gravedigger. 95 dB efficient. So it's the same idea that we have with our Heresy, but instead of it being a sealed cabinet with a Heresy, which doesn't give us the bass hump, thank goodness, you really, really get a very full bass with this, and it goes really, really low. And again, paired with our Fatale HF 141 or 142 LTH 141 horn with the Radian 648 Neo driver, which is an aluminum diaphragm on that. And this is the big Radian, the big Fatale cast aluminum high frequency horn with a BNC DE10, which is a phenolic diaphragm. So you have a 1-inch high frequency driver, 1.4 inch on the mid-range, ported, so it's a 32 hertz in room. It's 95, 96 dB efficient. So you give it 2 watts and you're exactly where you need to be. It's going really low. It's soulful. It's very fast. It scales, and so you have single-ended amps that are cathode biased, which are not going to give you big voltage swings, but are going to give you the texture and tone that you want. But you need the efficient speaker, and so what we have with all 3 examples, minus the Falcon, is a really efficient speaker that Paul Klipsch had an idea that a 5-watt amp is all you ever needed. I think there's a truth to that. A good 5-watt amp can take you really far in high-end audio. And so with most of our headphone amps we have, between 5 and 8 watts, and you pair it with one of these speakers and your answer is done. So these are what I listen to on a daily basis. I'll try to do a video on each one later. Thanks, guys.